from Heartland Business and Event Center, nestled in vibrant downtown Jesup. Someday I'll define vibrant, Dale, for you.
I think you're being. After listening to last week's podcast, I think we need to go more to a ground and pound kind of podcast. No mercy, don't let him up, okay? Just like Chewy, huh? He gets him down and he starts to pound. That's what we need to do. So,
I always thought when they called him Chewy in school that it was offensive, and I always stood up for him, and he just smiled.
Yeah.
Well, he finally told me what Chewy means.
Yeah, that was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Did you listen? Okay, but I thought that ground and pound. I just love that. So that's what we need to do.
All right. Ground and pound.
And pound.
Nestled in vibrant downtown Jesup, Iowa, as we ground and pound. We are at the home of the best funnel cakes in the Western Hemisphere.
All right, they are good. And they used to make them with a real funnel, but I don't think they do that anymore.
They don't anymore.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because people came from miles around to see that funnel work. So,
alongside producer Blake Tempus, co-host Dale Rueber, I am Jim Gillespie. The crowd has doubled.
Well, he hasn't gained that much weight.
This is the Jesup News for June 8th, 2026. Some advice before we start the show.
Okay, all right. I thought you had started the show. But
let art interrupt you. When beauty taps your shoulder, turn around. Okay? Also, check out the podcast, What Is Up, with our friend Bubba Seaman. On that podcast, they talk about everything with everyone. Nothing is off the table, discussing real life with real people. The good and the bad, the highs and the lows, and everything funny in between. It's an interesting yet entertaining podcast with real people talking about what is up. You had Phil Roberts' daughter on this week, I believe.
Okay. So
I've got a question to you.
Okay.
For you, as I pay the fine for my phone going off.
The little quarter jar's getting kind of full from down at your end.
Yes, it is. Was the world better without all the modern devices?
Yes, it was, except for the flush toilet. I would not want to live without the flush toilet.
I agree. The Amish, they have rural water now.
Oh, do they really? Is there a water tower out there? Or you see some of those rural area water towers. There's one by Dyke, and there's several around.
See, I don't know where the water comes from.
Okay.
But, I mean, all along the Littleton Road, then it turns and runs along Amish Boulevard.
And they're all tapped into it?
A lot of them are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought they just had the wells and the pump. Of course, the water, I would not want to be drinking constantly water out of just an open well or... so I think it's a wonderful idea for them.
Yeah.
I do. I did not realize that.
I have a well, and I had options. I live on the River Road Boulevard there, for people to come and egg my house.
Yeah.
Do you
have a pipe that sucks the water right out of the river for you, or?
I worry about it. I got it tested when I moved out there, and it was all right. It's been a lot of years.
Well, there's a billboard between Old Wine and Hazleton offering free testing of rural water. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So,
I knew that. I've spoke to other people. I think if you take it to, is it the county conservation office?
Okay, I don't know, but
I think they
will
do
test it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't say who's doing it, but it just says free rural water testing. So
yeah. But anyhow, so we could do without the phones. Your house phone? Could you do without your house phone?
Yeah, I think so. Though I've always, I grew up with a telephone, had a radio. So yeah, I don't know. You don't know what you can do. Like I have lived for several months without a whole lot of electricity, without a radio, a television, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I know you can do it. And without the flush toilet, I had to, which was not much. But anyway, so people can do it, but my older brother, he always told me, he said, if the electricity goes out, half the people in this country will die. And he believed that sincerely.
Well, you know what we're doing to Cuba right now. We're blocking gas from getting in their country, petrol from getting in their country, and so they have electricity 2 hours out of the day, basically. And their medicine has been pretty good for a communist nation for years. They've supplied the Latin American countries down there with doctors, a lot of them.
Yeah. But I don't see how the United States is not acting legally, according to international law, I wouldn't think, because there's nothing declared between they just don't like the government in Cuba. The people in Washington, D.C., they want to get rid of it. Well, there's another boat, a fishing boat out of Ecuador that a couple drones blew. I had 20-some people on it, and they were fishermen. They interviewed the guy's family. He said, we've been fishing out there out of Ecuador for many, many generations. And they had their boat out, and a drone attacked the ship and sank the ship. And
When was that?
I was on the radio this morning where they were interviewing the guy.
See, there is the belief that Cuba has 300 drones that Iran and Russia has provided them 300 drones.
Okay.
So that, if push comes to shove, they are within range of the Keys. And
Florida is only like 90 miles away, so there's a lot of targets in Florida. Yeah, it's scary because the drones, I think, have really changed everything as far as how you can defend yourself without a whole lot of money and, make a real pest of yourself if there is problems, military-type problems. And, you don't need a giant aircraft dropping huge bombs or this sort of thing. You can pick away and just make a nuisance of yourself enough that it becomes a real problem.
Early in the Iran conflict, we were shooting down $5,000 drones with $1.7 million missiles.
Yeah, and see, you can't do that for a long term.
No.
It's sort of like, the Navy loved those huge battleships. Then the Japanese sank a whole bunch of them with just from little tiny airplanes. Yeah. And they said, well, it's stupid to spend all this money on battleships when a $100,000 bomber or whatever, probably less than that in those days, can sink the darn.
We're not making ships in our country anymore, are we?
Not too much, no. I'm not sure what the number is, but it's not nearly like it used to be. And I think, was it China's making like 300 a year or something, or they're putting them out, and so. Yeah, we don't make things, and probably the worst thing for this country is that we don't make things that are worth a darn in this country. We farmed it out so we could do banking and high finance or whatever we're doing. I'm not sure, but
and that's the thing. The issue of sending our, like Nike sending money to first, what was it, India, and then they sent it to China. Mm-hmm. And then they sold the shoes in China for a long time, for 7 years, so they made money that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now there's a Chinese company making as good a shoe as Nike, and that's a problem that we'll face here soon. The Chinese cars, the Chinese electric cars.
Are doing real well.
Yeah.
I remember talking, and I think this was second grade, we were talking about somehow economics or populator, this sort of thing. But I said, now you take China, there's 1 billion people. If each of them buy one bottle of Coca-Cola every day, that's a huge market for Coca-Cola or anybody else that wants to sell in there. And so if you can get that kind of increase in your business, you're going to make tons and tons of money. And so I would say any company, if they could get into China and sell their stuff, they would be wise to do it.
I forget who the leader was during the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Yeah, I never can, because the way they spell it and the way they say it don't go together, and so I don't even try to keep track, I guess.
But he was asked, he's about 1 million people rising up in China, and he says all 1 million people is a statistic in China.
Yeah.
It is. When you have what? By now it's got to be close to 1.3 or 1.4 billion people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And even they have a problem because they had that one child per family law for many years, and they've taken that away because their population is decreasing at a rate that is alarming to them, because more people are dying than are being born, when we have the same problem in this country.
Yeah, we do. I was listening to Dan Lebatard, and they brought up a company in Florida that has what is called a final guest. To a funeral, to a male's funeral, a young woman will come in dressed in a veil and cry her eyes out. Sit in the back. She will come in just as the funeral starts and leave just before the funeral ends.
Okay.
And it will be a scandal.
Okay.
Can
I leave money for that in my will? I'd like to have that happen.
That's what a lot of people, there's a couple ways that they're doing it. The deceased is buying it. You can have the funeral home buy it for you.
Okay.
or your family can buy it for you. But there's also you can also hire groups of people to come, like that. That type of thing costs you like anywhere from $100 to $400. But you can buy like 10 people to come in for $45
For
a piece.
centuries, they've had paid mourners, like even in the Roman Empire for Caesar and those guys, and then in this country too, you could buy mourners, or the funeral director would say, "Now, how many mourners would you like me to hire for some of these people that weren't very popular?"
Yeah.
And so that's a common thing.
But that's not legal in Iowa, I don't believe. I was researching
to
this
pay
a little
mourners?
bit. Well, I mean, you can ask the mortician, but I've never heard it done. I've never seen it done.
Okay.
Maybe let me ask the audience. Has the audience ever seen it done?
I'm sure it was done, but they were so good you didn't realize it.
Yeah.
If you watch John Wayne's final movie, The Shootist, when he's talking to the funeral director, the guy offers him a package deal, and included in it was so many paid mourners. So
I only get paid for rallies.
Yeah.
See, that was in the movie, so it's got to be true.
So, and there's a couple of places that offer superheroes and things like that.
At the funeral?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All
like
right.
Batman will walk in,
We'd have to
Superman.
get Wonder Woman, I think, don't you? I always like that costume. It's better than the cape and the collar.
Control your hormones.
All
you
right,
did.
I'm trying.
Buried like that?
Well, you could we could get buried in the Wonder Woman costume. Now that would be a scandal.
Yeah,
Wow, we're finally finding out about these guys. So.
Would you first off would you hire a final guest? How would your family handle if you hired a final
Yeah,
guest?
well,
first off?
I don't think I would ever do it.
Right.
Because there won't be any seats left over for some extra person to come in.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think I think my family would get a kick out of it. My son-in-laws probably would get a real kick out of it. But yeah, I don't think I would do that because I'm still on the fence about how much of a to-do I want when I die.
Right.
I always thought I would just die and be cremated and that would be it. But then, and I'll say her name, but a lady that I worked with at school, I was a young man and she was older, was working as an aide, and years later she died and was buried, and this was without any fanfare at all. And I found out about it like 3 or 4 weeks after it happened. I thought, well, it's just like she disappeared from the face of the earth, and I don't want that for myself now. So I think maybe I'd like to have like a memorial service or something now, so people at least know that I was dead.
Well, friend of the Arts Center, Jen Wright, or Alan Wright's sister-in-law,
Right.
passed away. She was at the Hootenanny in Owine, the equivalent of our jam session.
Yeah.
And she got real sick and ended up going to the doctor. And when she was at the doctor, she ended up passing away. And I called her daughter the next day, and she said, "Mom didn't want anything." They didn't have a celebration. Excuse me. Life just went on.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's just what you want. But I don't know, just to kind of disappear where people don't really know that you've gone. I don't know. It's something about that bothered me, and so that's when I kind of changed my mind about things. And I don't know if you've noticed, but since COVID's kind of over, these funeral dinners and lunches are back to where they used to be.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
And you mentioned that before.
I know. It's one of my favorite things.
It can't be eaten for free.
Oh no, and the people they do their best to. The ladies do their best to impress the other ladies, I think, with the stuff they bring, and so that's pretty nice. Remember, Vicki Hushcraft, we had a potluck of some kind up at school.
Yeah.
The teachers all brought something, and she stopped at my house about 7:15 or something. She said, "Can I borrow a casserole dish?" Well, yeah. So she had bought some potato salad or something at Cher's Deli, but she didn't want anybody to know she bought it there, so she wanted a dish to put it. So people wouldn't think she was unable to make something. So
buying cookies and then putting it on the plate.
Well, sure, and say, boy, these are all exactly the same. How did you do that? So
Now there are some legal problems that come with this. Let's say
With the mourners?
with the mourners.
okay.
I mean, someone that impersonates, that brings a family conflict. Imagine, if you're a child and you see your father or your mother has a guest come in, a final guest come in, you see that, you're going to be a little affected. Wow, who was that?
Well, and you're saying they really make a scene of it.
Yeah.
A lot of crying and blubbering and this sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess I don't think that would be a traumatic moment where you have to go to counseling or anything. You just explain to the kid that was one of Daddy's friends or something.
Well, some of these places down in Florida, when you go to them and hire them, they have you make up a story. Well, what story would you like to tell your family? They come and ask.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, you would kind of want something in writing. No, look, the guy asked me to do it. Here's the contract or something. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
I just needed $100, and so.
It is. So, all right. Well, as we wrap up the first half of our three-half show here.
Yeah.
Here,
unique in all the world.
It is. So yes or no? Would you hire a final guest?
I would not, probably.
You would not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see the need for it. But if one of my friends offered just to do it as a joke, I would probably say, well, go ahead. But I wouldn't hire a stranger or somebody to come there and cause trouble. I don't believe, of course, it's your own funeral, so you should be able to mess it up if you want to, I guess.
Right.
Because I don't believe in people imposing themselves on other people's ceremonies or grief or whatever. But if you do it to yourself, that's your business, I guess.
Yeah, I think I would tell somebody in the family.
Well, people get shot that way,
Yes, they do.
They do.
All right, this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We'll be right back. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're back for the second half of our show. And Dale, what do you got on your agenda?
Well, I got a couple things. We're getting up next week is the primary vote. And it's interesting how this book kind of goes along with happenings, but this is the Greatest Stories Never Told. This segment is called One Man, One Vote, okay? How a single vote can sometimes make all the difference. On a sweltering summer afternoon in 1842, Henry Shoemaker was toiling as a hired hand on a farm in Indiana. Suddenly he remembered it was election day and he had forgotten to vote. He had personally promised his vote to one of the candidates running for state representative, a Democrat named Madison Marsh. Shoemaker might be forgiven if he had ducked out on his civic duty and broken that promise. But he didn't. He saddled his horse, rode to the polling place, and cast his ballot. As a result, Madison Marsh was elected by one vote. At that time, state legislatures elected U.S. senators. In January of 1843, Marsh and his fellow Indiana lawmakers covened for just such an election. After much maneuvering, Marsh changed his vote on the sixth ballot, electing Democrat Edward Hannigan to the United States Senate by one vote. Fast forward to 1846. A sharply divided U.S. Senate was debating whether or not to declare war with Mexico. A caucus vote was deadlocked until the absent Senator Hannigan was called. He cast his vote in favor of war. One of the results of that war was that California changed hands from Mexico to the United States. Henry Shoemaker had no idea what he was setting in motion that day he went to the polls. Never thought that his one vote would make the difference between peace and war. But now that you know, never assume that your one vote doesn't count. And they got two little paragraphs here. Senator Edward Hannigan also cast the deciding vote to give statehood to Texas. So if Henry Shoemaker hadn't cast his vote that day in 1842, it is possible that neither California nor Texas would be part of the United States today. And the reason we know all about Henry Shoemaker's vote is that it was a contested ballot. There wasn't a ticket available listing all the candidates Shoemaker wanted to vote for, so he took out his knife and cut out names from 4 different tickets in order to cast his ballot. The inspector at the polling place threw out Shoemaker's improvised ticket, and that resulted in a tie. After numerous hearings and lengthy testimony, the vote was allowed, and the tie was broken by one vote. So, moral of the story, what?
Vote for yourself.
Is to go and vote, because every now and then you read this where one vote makes all the difference.
I've got a great story before you go on.
All right, so, better be good, because mine was going to be Saco Finn. Okay, go ahead.
So I would walk to school with Mary Murray. I have no idea why Mary Murray would walk to school with me, but she would.
You're kind of cute in your own little way. So.
I wasn't thin.
Well,
and so I would walk with her, and I went to pick her up. It was homecoming, and I went to pick her up. I stopped at the house. house, and her dad's name was Bob. Bob was sitting in his chair reading the morning newspaper, having his coffee. And Bob says to her, Mary, make sure you vote for yourself for homecoming queen. Mary said, I'd never do that. I won't do that. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Bob says, make sure you do it. And Mary said, walked on the way to school, I won't vote for myself. Well, that day the vote took place, and Mary found out she lost by one vote because she didn't vote for herself.
That actually happened to me once, too.
It did?
Yeah, I didn't vote for myself when I lost the election. By one vote. I could have been king of the 6th grade. It was a hard. Yeah, well, I'm sorry for the girl. You know, did she recover? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mary was. I'm sure Mary's running the world right now.
Well, a lot of women are
pretty
like that.
sharp. Yeah.
My barber told me that today. She said, how come men just don't realize that women are running the world? Why do they fight it so much? I don't know. I gave in years ago. So there's a movie coming out, and by the time it had its opening weekend, it's called Pressure. And it's a little-known story about a weatherman and D-Day. D-Day was supposed to start on Monday, June the 5th, but there was a terrific storm coming, and this young meteorologist, and this is without satellites and all this sort of thing, but he said, you're going to kill everybody because the tides are going to be high, the boats are going to swamp, this and that. And tomorrow it'll look much better. And Eisenhower was very upset, because, are you sure? Are you positive? Well, you can't be sure and positive. If they didn't go Tuesday, the 6th, then you'd have to wait 6 more weeks because of the tide, the moon and the tides and all this sort of thing wouldn't be favorable for this kind of landing. And by that time, the secret would have been out for sure. And so the kid says, well, there's a window Tuesday morning, X number of hours, that I think you can get her done then. And so that's what the movie is about, is the pressure that Eisenhower was under to make the right call, the pressure this kid was under to make the right call, and then the pressure, the air pressure that was affecting everyone. And so I'm going to go see that movie this weekend, and I'll report next week if anybody wants to know. But it's interesting because that movie was coming out, and just a day later, someone wrote a nice letter to the editor and says Eisenhower understood the cost of war and Trump does not. And a statement Eisenhower, and remember Eisenhower was president from 53 to 61 and was a 5-star general in World War II. And General MacArthur said Eisenhower was the best clerk he ever had. So he didn't like Eisenhower. Anyway, he says, this is a quote from Dwight Eisenhower. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, and the hope of its children. And so he was very much against war and says, having experienced 2 wars, Eisenhower worked to foster peace globally. During his presidency, not one U.S. soldier died in combat for 8 years, and not many presidents, I don't think, can say that. Has some bad things about our current president, but I won't read that because I do that too often, I guess. But and then another interesting article in the same paper, a study last year by the Rand Corporation showed that about $80 trillion, that's trillion with a T, has been transferred from the bottom 90% of Americans to the top 1% over the past 50 years. The report states the scale is staggering. In 2023 alone, the bottom 90% missed out on $3.9 trillion, equating to roughly $28,000 per worker. How was this done? According to the report, through a well-orchestrated political program of tax cuts favoring high earners, attacks on labor unions, globalization, and corporate practices favoring the few at the expense of the many. And what have these fortunate few been doing with our money? They've been investing in political influence and media monopolies to further promote their interests, reduce their taxes, and eliminate funding for our health care, education, safety, and nutrition, all the while increasing the national debt to dangerous proportion. And says, what can we do? We need to recognize the fact that billionaires rely on a vast network of public goods, transportation, communication, legal and financial systems, and not a little luck to generate their wealth. And we need to return to the kind of tax regimen that really did make America great. Until we put that carefully stolen wealth back into the public coffers and our own pockets, we won't be able to do much else. And I don't know if you remember, maybe John knows, but the tax rate for millionaires was quite high for many, many years, 50% or more. And so, but now, it's down with the rest of us. And so they're making all that money. Okay. Couple other little things. Last year they had the Bob Dylan movie. Did you see that?
Yep.
And I went with my son and my grandson, who is 20. He's 20 years old this year, and he enjoyed the music. And so when he was listening to thing like Spotify and that sort of thing. He tended to listen to that kind of music, a lot of those songs. And so this year, not too long ago, Spotify put out a thing where they could tell your age by the music you've been listening to. And they told Nate that he was 75. Well, good for you. You're listening to the same music I do. So another little Jesup note to Dairy Cone. They were working down there today.
Right.
They got a bunch of dirt in the parking lot, and a lady was inside, putting things together and this sort of thing. And I stopped thinking I'd get a real scoop. But the guy who bought it, Ron Rogers from Brandon, is also and he was busy working today on that, so I wasn't able to talk to him. I thought I have a real scoop I could find out. But it says it's opening soon.
I like your play on words there. I caught it.
Okay.
The
all
scoop, real scoop.
right. People write in, they want to know, they tell me I should say more about my family,
Okay.
more personal. And so I say about my grandpa, and we're a very athletic family, always in shape and long-lived. When he was 70, he started walking 5 miles a day.
Your grandpa?
Every day. He walked 5 miles a day, every day, rain or shine. And in 2 months, we had no idea where he was. Found out Alan Wright has resigned. He's not going to drive bus anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was 21 when he started. He's 91 when he quit. So that's 70 years.
70 years.
He drove the school bus.
That's
so,
magic.
Yeah. Also note, June the 1st, that's today, as you listen to this. Baseball, I think Jesup is 0-2. They lost close games to Owine and to Grundy Center.
They're pretty young, I believe, right now.
Is that right? Okay, I don't want to go up and see him play. But and they had on the news the kid from Grundy Center that's a real good golfer. He's in a state golf match.
Yeah.
And yesterday played his golf match, came to Jesup, pitched a couple innings in the ball game, then went back so he could play again today.
Wow.
So that's real dedication. He's a senior. He just graduated. And but I thought that's real dedication
That is.
to your baseball buddies. I think it's great. So, okay. I want to talk a little bit about what a dangerous world it is. And all of these things. UPS plane, this has been in the news, taking off. The engine falls off the plane, bounces over a fence, and kills a whole bunch of people. 12 people died. The 3 pilots died, and there were 12 people on the ground that died because the engine fell off the plane as it was taking off. Would you expect that? Oh. A woman was in New York City. She parked her car. She got out of the car, fell into an open manhole, and was killed. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Would you? Strange. A man and his wife are hiking in Hawaii, and the man tries to push his wife off the cliff and hits her in the head with a rock, and then finally they got him stopped before he killed her. But then after that, a billionaire and his son were hiking, and the man falls off the cliff and died. Now the son has been arrested for pushing the man off the cliff. Missing on the husband in the Bahamas. The husband said she fell off the boat and was missing. Well, now the Coast Guard is looking at the GPS information on the boat, and it doesn't match up with what he said happened, and so they're now looking for him. He said he was going to stay there and search for her body till he found it, but the very next day he went home.
I heard of that one too.
All right. And then you got these the 2 teenagers that went to the daycare school, and they were going to kill preschool students. And they shot the 3 men, the guards that were there, but didn't get any of the kids. And the 2 shooters then got in their cars and killed themselves. But in the car they found 30 guns and a crossbow. And you just wonder, what were they thinking about? And I said, well, let's throw the crossbow and we only have 30 guns. So it's a crazy, crazy world, and you're not safe anywhere. And there's a lot of ways people are dying. It's a very dangerous world. So
yeah.
That's what I have today.
Well,
unless you need something else later.
Thank you. Well, we have an announcement that came out today. It is we're announcing the beautiful big show. It is an art call hosted by the Steve Brown Art Center. It will be Friday and Saturday, July 10th and 11th. During Farmers Day,
okay,
from noon until 5 each day. The venue is 726th Street, Jesup, Iowa. It is the Yellow Building, and this is direct from the owners.
Okay.
The Yellow Building across from the library. It was known as the Thompson Development Building, but they've taken that sign down.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what it's called now.
Well, was that Larry Thompson's building? Probably, and he has died, so maybe they've had to redo everything.
Yeah. So enter this big art. It's called the Big Art Show. If you remember last year, we had the Tiny Art Show.
Okay.
Where
this is nice contrast.
Okay. Where last year the size of the art could be no bigger, 4 inches by 6 inches. This year we're showing everything must be bigger then 2 feet, which is 24 inches, by 3 feet, which is 36 inches. So it's got to be bigger than that.
Okay.
Okay. And it'd be interesting what you can create that is a big deal.
Okay.
Okay. trying to follow the Farmer's Day thing and have a saying. What is the big deal?
The big deal,
okay,
sure.
Okay. It can be a painting, a sculpture, it can be glass, it can be anything. Mm-hmm. The SBAC can't wait to see what you come up with. I must be in by the 5th of July to the Heartland Business and Event Center. I'll have to come every day or this place will be full of stuff.
And you won't be able to carry them by yourself because they're huge.
They will be. But they can deliver it here, then I will take it down to the yellow building.
I suppose you can't plan really how you're going to display it till you see how much you
right.
get. Okay, so that'll be a last minute thing, won't it?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
okay.
So while it's due, it is due, art must be in by the 5th of July to the Heartland Business and Event Center at 591 Young Street in Jesup, Iowa, 50648.
Is that a Monday? I think it is.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. The business hours here at Business and Event Center are 7:30 until 5. Enter your big art and come and enjoy Farmers Day in Jesup that weekend. Any questions, call 319-290-0241 or email jgillespiegolf@gmail.com. That's jgillespiegolf@gmail.com.
Should be interesting to see what you get.
Last year we had 54 tiny pieces.
Okay.
My goal for this is 30 pieces.
Yeah.
And I contacted probably 20 artists today, and half of them got back to me and said they're going to bring 10. I have probably, at my house, I have probably 10 Nick Thomas pieces that are 2x3 at least that we can show.
Yeah.
And I've got a John Decker piece, and I have a more Donnelly piece that are.
Is that big?
Okay. Well, they were made. We had them expanded.
Oh, okay.
They were on the mural that our friend Joe Olson put alongside at Bremer Park.
Okay.
And we will talk about Joe a little bit later here.
Okay.
So.
Well, it should be very interesting.
Yeah.
And I would think like painting something small and then painting something large, you have to really. See me, you had to turn your whole brain around as far as how you're going to space that on there and everything. So
July 5th is a Sunday.
July 5th is a Sunday. Okay. Well, then they better have it in before Sunday. Well, this is Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network. We'll be back for the third half of our show. This is Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network, and we're back for the third half of our show. Dale, you and I are sucking on the teat of Social Security, and you have a story there about it.
Well,
what do you got?
This is from the Orlando, and it's the Social Security withers while leaders dither. And so, Social Security, and I don't know if you go to restaurants, cafes around here during the day, during a weekday, when everybody's working and the place is always full of old people ordering breakfast and drinking coffee and this sort of thing. And I keep thinking, man, if they took Social Security away, a lot of these businesses would go under because we spend it. We don't tuck it away anywhere.
We're part of that clientele.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So, and so I have a personal interest in this kind of thing. I'm biased. Because Americans who might agree on little else share a common interest in preserving Social Security and Medicare. Nearly all of us are either enrolled in these universal programs or expected to be as we get older. So it should alarm Republicans, Democrats, and independents that Congress is doing nothing to prevent the enormous benefit reductions threatening both programs in just 7 years. That is, when the trust funds are on track to exhaust their reserves and reduce payouts to no more than what existing earmarked taxes will collect. Across the board, everyone receiving old age or survivor assistance from Social Security will get 23% less. Of every 4 of 10 retired Americans, Social Security provides at least half of their income. For 1 of every 7, it is more than 90%. Social Security keeps 20 million older people and 1 million children out of poverty. Medicare would have to reduce spending by 11%, most of which would diminish care. A reasonable tax increase would avert that. The longer Congress puts off reckoning with these problems, the more difficult the solutions will be. President Donald Trump has provided no leadership on either issue. He doesn't talk about it. He wanted to make matters worse by exempting all Social Security benefits from income tax. That is, surprise, skewed to the wealthy because benefits are already totally exempt for retired couples whose income is less than $32,000, and half is tax-free for joint incomes under $44,000. Trump falsely claims that he already exempted Social Security from the tax. He's referring to the temporary $6,000 increase in the standard deduction for couples, which is meaningless to those who owe no income tax. That expires in 2028. Trump wants to dump Medicare, Medicaid, and child care on the states. The Brookings Institute proposed making Social Security fully solvent for another 75 years. The plan would raise the ceiling, now $184,500, on income subject to the Social Security tax and increase the tax rate from 12.4% paid jointly by workers and employers to 12.6%. It would raise the retirement age in stages from 67 to 70 for people in the highest 2/5 of income bracket. It would earmark to the trust fund all taxes paid on Social Security benefit. It would fully tax Social Security benefits paid to individuals with adjusted gross incomes of $100,000 or $125,000 for couples. The Brookings program asked for something from everyone, but not too much from anyone. The most controversial part would increase legal immigration with more temporary employment visas and higher quotas and status adjustment for certain undocumented immigrants. The urgent need for this is in the falling birth rate and the declining ratio of tax-paying workers to retired beneficiaries. Social Security is one of the most important issues that voters should demand every candidate address in this election year. And I had heard a speaker years ago, and he said you can solve Social Security's problems by taking the cap off and not just have a limit with every dollar you make, that 12% whatever goes to Social Security. You pay Social Security tax on everything you make, not just that first 100,000 or whatever it was. And so, his number said you could fix it just with taking the cap off with no limit on that. So I don't know, but it is a real valuable program. I think it means so much to so many people, and it's amazing to me that a lot of people pretty much survive on Social Security, and never was meant to be an end-all. It was supposed to be part of your retirement program, but not the retirement program. But many people have not put away any money, have no other. I sit here nice and full of myself because we were in the IPERS program just by accident. It was there when we got into teaching and we knew nothing about it, but it turned out to be my wife is a financial advisor, and she talks to him and he's, 2 Social Security incomes, 2 IPERS incomes. Huh? You guys are doing all right. So I think, yeah. So I don't know, but life turned out better for me financially. I ever thought it would, but I just can't see in this country people struggling in poverty when it can be so easily taken care of if just a few people would get off their butts and do what they need to do to help out. And so it's a rough world sometimes.
It is. But, and here's the good thing, Dale, I don't see your politicians changing Social Security because who votes? People our age vote.
Yeah.
They would, they are not going to take it away from.
Yeah. But will they let it start to decrease, let it start to decline? See?
Yeah.
That's the question, and can they get away with that? And I know this country was founded by people that didn't want to pay taxes, and most of those were rich people. If you look at the history of the Revolutionary War and that sort of thing, a lot of people didn't care who ran the government, but the people who were making a lot of money, they cared a lot, and brought everybody else along with them. You hate it when you see a really serious problem for millions and millions of people, and you say, okay, people like the Brookings Institute and the Rand Corporation, those are important that study this kind of thing, and they say, here it is right here. But they just, won't do it.
Dale, and I've talked about this multiple times. Universal basic income could end all our problems with Social Security. Change it to, Social Security to that. Mm-hmm. And help people like Blake and, younger people, supplemental income, help them afford a house. Yeah. Right now, I was speaking to one of my customers today, and they were talking about, their son wants to buy a house, and a house that was $150,000 4 years ago was $400,000.
Yeah. Well, that's the average, right, for a house?
Yeah.
$400,000.
So
my wife has told our kids to find a nice young couple that came to Jesup with a teaching job and just give them our house. I don't think they're going to do that, but it was just you help them get started, you know.
This Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Dale, we've got to pause here. We lost a friend. Joe Olson. Joe Olson was a fellow in the Steve Brown Arts Center, and we've got to give our condolences to his wife Judy and his family, his kids. It was a sudden tragic death, and it will impact Independence and Buchanan County for a long time.
Yeah.
Joe was on the show 3 times, and at least 3 times, and he was an idea man. He was always calling me with ideas for the Arts Center, and he introduced me to people like John Klotzbach and John Christensen and many people many artists in Buchanan County, and so I've got a little eulogy here for him. Joe Olson was the kind of man who didn't just live in Independence, he helped it grow, flourish, and find its voice. He was a builder of people, of programs, of traditions and beauty, and he did it all with the unmistakable Joe Olson mix of curiosity, kindness, and a handshake that meant something. Joe believed in community with a conviction that never wavered. He lived by a simple rule: if he didn't know you yet, he wanted to. And once he knew you, he wanted to help you, encourage you, or connect you with someone who could. He was a natural networker, a born organizer, a man who understood that a strong town isn't an accident. It's built relationship by relationship. His service ran deep. On the school board, he fought for students, teachers, and the future of Independence. With the Chamber of Commerce, he championed local businesses and the people who poured their lives into them. Through Light Up the Dam, he wanted to create a tradition that brought families together under the sky full of color. With Laces, he invested in artists, not just their activities, but their confidence and sense of belonging. And Joe didn't stop there. He was the builder of the Independence Farmers Market, helping it grow into a gathering place where neighbors met, vendors thrived, and the town felt like a family. He helped make the Steve Brown Arts Center matter, not just as an organization, but as a heartbeat of creativity and community. His belief in the mission was so strong that he was named a fellow, a recognition that meant the world to him, and he reflected the world he helped shape. Joe wasn't just a volunteer, he was a mentor. He had a gift for seeing potential in people before they saw it in themselves. He nudged, guided, encouraged, and lifted. He made room for others to shine. When he wasn't organizing something for the good of the town, he was tending to the earth itself. Joe loved gardening, planting, pruning, coaxing life from the soil. He believed in new growth and second chances and the quiet miracle of things taking root, and he used that love to beautify Independence. One flower bed, one planter, one burst of color at a time. He made the town look like the place he knew it could be. He also loved basketball, the rhythm and teamwork of the game. He loved fishing, where the world slowed down enough for real conversations. He loved cooking, especially when he meant feeding people who cared about. And he loved a cold grain belt beer, the kind of simple pleasure that fit him perfectly. Unpretentious, honest, and shared best with friends. But more than anything, Joe loved people. He remembered your name, he remembered your story, he remembered what mattered to you, and he made you feel like you mattered to him. He was the kind of man who made the community feel smaller in the best possible way. The kind that made you feel steadier just by standing next to him. The kind who believed that a town thrives when its people show up for each other, and Joe Olson showed up. For his family, for his friends, for Independence, for all of us. Today as we say goodbye, we honor the way he lived, with generosity, with curiosity, with a heart wide open to the people around him, with the honor the gardens he planted, the programs he strengthened, the young people he mentored, the traditions he built, the meals he cooked, the laughter he shared, and the countless connections he forged. Thank you, Joe, for every seed you planted in the soil, in the community, and in the hearts of the people who knew you. Thank you for believing in independence and proving every day the community still matters. May we carry forward the best. May people keep building the town you loved, and may your memory be a blessed, steady, kind, and full of heart.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I had a friend, an older man. He had moved to Traer after he retired, and he was in his 80s, and he's a World War II veteran. I went to visit him, and his flagpole had been messed up in a storm, and his flag was all, he flew the American flag every day, and his flag was all ripped. And so I was able to fix the pole, and so I said, I'll get you a flag. I'll buy a flag and put it up there. So I went downtown and went to the bar. There's a cafe bar, and I said to the lady, I said, who's the Legion guy in this town? And she looked at me funny, and I said, yeah, if someone wants to know, who's the Legion guy in this town? Well, she looked at somebody else, and they said, okay, they had a name.
Yeah.
So they gave me the name and the number. I called the guy and I explained about what I needed. I wanted to buy a flag. Well, he said, if he's a World War II, he said, I'll give you the flag. He said, I'll even go up and put it up for you.
Yeah.
And he did it. And Joe was that. I met him a few times, but it seemed to me that he's the kind of guy, if you went to Independence and asked for somebody, he would be a name that they would give out. And so those are special kind of people.
Yes, they are. I talked to volunteer coordinator Jake Bass, and I said, how'd you meet Joe Olson? And he said, well, when I got the job dealing with volunteers, and I typed in volunteers in Independence, Joe Olson's name came up everywhere. He said he contacted him right away,
Yeah.
and they became good friends. That was tough. So remember that we have Linda Schmidt showing at the community room at the Jesup Public Library. We have Mandy Betts at Ems. We have Nick Thomas showing at Gedney's. And the Wandering Table will be out for the 5th week this week. Look for the Wandering Table.
Do you know who's going to be in Ems in June or yet?
I do, and the name is escaping me right now.
Okay, well, I'm glad I
trying to dodge a bullet. We
fine,
do,
that's fine.
yeah. No, we do have
Okay.
that. There would be a lot of dead air time if I were to look.
Dan Cohen has always volunteered to put his pictures up,
Yes,
if you ever
yes.
get stuck. Why? Okay.
No, we have.
Yeah, so that's a good. Okay.
We have people scheduled into December actually
do you
already.
really?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
I should have known that you would be that organized.
Thank you. Don't forget we have the 24-hour Mustang camera sponsored by Joe's Pizza in Independence, and the Hawk camera in Manchester, and the little free art house, which was a big deal to Joe.
Was that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was involved with that at Laces, and Laces does a nice job of promoting that. That will get a lot of use now this summer, now that school's out. As we finish, we ask you to send lawyers, guns, and money. And if you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message.
That's a very dangerous person, a lawyer that also has a gun.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's almost scary.
Who sings that? Whose song is that? You know?
I do not know.
Warren Zevon.
Okay, I don't know
sings
him
that.
either. So.
Yeah. I'm Jim Gillespie with Dale Rueber and guest audience member John Klotz back down there. We also, our producer Blake Tempus gets us through this every night. Our thanks as always to Kelly C. Haas and Heartland Business and Events Center for allowing us to use their podcast equipment and studio. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs in your life, and remember that each day is about little victories.